Hey guys, it's Kat and I'm back today to talk about a palette. Now, what you may not know is that over the last couple of months, I have been hoarding palettes. So I've been doing my 1 month one palette series. Maybe once a month I do a review of an individual palette. But for some reason, either I've been sent a few products, bought a few palettes, and these are things I haven't wanted to touch because I want to do a review of them or a first impressions get ready with me or something with them, and the pile is getting out of hand. So this is my pile of palettes that I have not used. One of them I have used, but these are things that I want to do reviews of coming up. So I have the Colored Rain. This is the Safari Rain palette. I'm so excited. I've got the Anastasia Beverly Hills Riviera, which matches my top. Have not touched those, have not looked at them. I was gifted by a lovely subscriber the mini Viseart palette. I really want to do something with that. Haley got me an early birthday present. This is the Viseart Liaison, which looks beautiful. Colourpop. I've got like a lot of stuff going on. But the palette that started that pile that I have not touched is by Suva Beauty. This is the Rose Period palette that came out, I'm gonna say late February, and I got it even before it was released. It just sat there because I was like, it's one that I want to use and I want to try on camera. And I don't want to start just delving into it and putting it aside. I want to give it the love it deserves. Is that the right term? I don't know. And today's the day. So what I'm doing with this right now is I'm doing my first impressions over X amount of days. So I look at the palette, I swatch it, I do an eye look, first impressions, I tell you what I think of it. And then throughout the next few days, I am going to focus on this palette, use all the shades and report back in with the eye looks I've created and what I think about the palette. So these tend to be pretty long videos, but they're jam-packed with a lot of stuff. And right at the end, I'll tell you what I think overall about this palette. So I wanted to start with this one because, like I said, it's the one that I've had in my pile the longest. And what I might do in May, because the 1 month one palette series are kind of holding me back from testing out a lot of eyeshadows that I want to try, I might actually hold off the 1 month one palette and just do a lot of these first impressions, maybe 3 or 4 of them, so I can get through some of these cool new palettes before they actually become old and boring palettes. So this is a limited edition palette and it's out for a little while. So the good thing about Suva Beauty, they bring out limited edition palettes, but they're limited for a limited sort of time. It's not like once they sell out, they're gone. I think they just sort of have a new palette in stock for a few months and then they might move on to the next thing. They just don't like keeping too many palettes in stock as far as I get the impression. But this one is named after Picasso's Rose Period. So it's inspired by the artwork that he created in that sort of period. Yeah. So this is the palette. This is the box. So it is the same. You can see that it's got some hands and some roses, some flowers with eyes in it. And that was drawn by the creator of Suva Beauty. So it's cool. It is like a matte cardboard, so it can get a little bit grubby, but overall it looks quite nice and clean and sleek. And inside it does have a protective thing. It's got a magnetic closure. It's got a little mirror. You can see it there. See my rug that matches my cushion, but those are the shades. So it's a 12 pan eyeshadow palette. There are 1, 2, 3, 4 shimmers and the rest are mattes. So shimmer, 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 and shimmer. But you can see that they're very like soft, floral, rosy. You got some purples, you got some pinks, you got some peaches, you got like a bronzy warm shade. So you can create a variety of looks using this. I don't know what I'm going to start with today. I'm probably going to do what I normally do and swatch this on my arm and then decide from there. All right, so that's the palette there. It does have names above the pan just in silver. You can see these are very shimmery. These are nice and matte. This color here really interests me. It looks really, really beautiful. Nice, like deep red. But that's the palette there. All right, so I'm going to do 3 at a time. I'm going to do the top row, probably clean off my arm, do the bottom row. But I just wanted to mention that picking up the mattes, they feel very, very soft. So very, very finely milled. So that's a little bit powdery, but it does looks like it blends pretty well. So you can probably build that up. These mattes are very, very soft to touch. There we go. That's a beautiful shade. I love these types of shades for transitions. That's a nice brighter peach. I might pick up a little bit. Once again, these are super soft to touch, but they feel like they need a little bit building up just on the naked arm. That is, whoa, okay, you probably can't see it on camera. It's got some pink shimmer in it, and it's also got some like orangey bronze shimmer, but it's like, it's beautiful. That is a really, really beautiful shade. There's multi-dimensions going on. It's gorgeous. All right, first 3 shades of the second row. We have quite an icy white that almost has a pink shift to it. A nice sort of peachy nude. This is more peachy than the other sort of cream shade that was on the top row. We have a nice sort of shimmery magenta purple. Last 3 shades are all matte. So we have that red that I'm really interested in. That looks quite patchy. I'm going to build that up. I have tried Suva Beauty eyeshadows before, and some of the really pigmented ones kind of look a little bit patchy like that, but they blend nicely on the eye. I'm keen to try this one today. We've got a beautiful purple that sort of matches this one. It's a little bit darker than that sort of mauvey one we saw on the top row. And we have the darkest matte. This is like a wine shade, which has a similar sort of vibe as this red. It looks a little bit patchy swatched, but it might apply really nicely. So we might try those. So I really like these from the swatches. I have tried Suva before, and I think their pigmentation is really great and their color choices are really nice as well. So I'm more excited to use these mattes and purples. I think the purples and this bronze color is beautiful. I'm tempted to go a cool eye because that's what I'm vibing right now. The weather's overcast and crap, and I'm like, ooh, cool toned. But I also want to try this shade on camera. So I might go a bronzy color with some dark reds. I think that one is a fun one to demonstrate because that's the one I'm most curious about. And then I might do some purples and check in over the next few days using them. So that's what I might do. But I think the thing that from swatching this really sort of piques my interest the most is how finely milled the mattes are. They feel like if you get, you know, when you sometimes touch, okay, if you touch a pan and then you feel like you're not actually touching anything, it shows that it's a finely milled product. But if you have like a really finely milled like under eye setting powder and you go to touch it and it feels like you almost don't have anything in your fingers, that's what these mattes sort of feel like. So they feel really, really finely milled, which I like. On my eyes, I've only got primer, so I'm using the NARS tinted smudge proof eyeshadow base in light, so I've just blended that out. On my lips, in case you're wondering, it is Too Faced Melted Matte in Sellout. So that's what's going on. All right, so when I often reach for a palette for the first time, I generally use a lot more shades than I normally would in my normal daily routine. Usually I'll pick maybe 4 eyeshadows, but sometimes when I'm testing things out, I use like 6 or 7. I just like to see how things work together. So I might actually start with that peach shade, put that in the crease. I'm thinking also, I'm really vibing with this quad here. So I might use that with a bit of bronze. I don't know if that's too many shades. Is that too many shades? Whatever, we'll start with that light peachy shade, which sort of looks like my skin tone a little bit darker. So that just sort of helps set the base in the crease a little bit. I should zoom in, but you can see the depth that's given all of a sudden. On the same brush, I'm going with that sort of mauvey color because I love that color just to deepen the crease a little bit. These are very powdery and they do pick up in the, like you get a bit of mess in the pan. So you just have to be very careful not to agitate your brush too much, but that is a pretty color. It's not too much pigment that it's hard to blend out, but once again, you just have to just pick up the smallest amount. If you agitate the brush in the pan too much, it gets a little bit messy. And I'm not sure if you can see what I'm talking about, but there's a little bit of mess on the pan. I'm going in with this peach shade and then this bronze shade, probably with that one in the outer corner. I think that's what I'm doing on the lid. So this is that peach shade Sweet Briar, and it picks up really nicely on more of a firm brush. This is it's a firm shader by Sigma. Well, they've named that appropriately. One thing I am noticing, and this is just something that might be on my skin tone or the way I've applied them so far, but a lot of the colors are looking quite similar. So even though this is definitely more of a peach, the sort of mauve that I put in the lid, they both are looking quite pink on me. And I've noticed that that's a bit of a thing that happens with me, also with lip colors. If I wear anything that's got a pink hint to it, it looks very pink on me. So I don't know if it's gonna look much different on you, but that mauve that I diffused in the crease looks quite similar to this peach. But you know, time will tell. Depends on how much you pack it on, and I guess the undertones of your skin and how colors lean. But pink, like anything with a pink tone, really does the pink tone stand out on my skin. But for a matte peach, that's not really vibrant, so it's not like a neon color or anything. This actually holds really well in the eye. It doesn't look patchy, it didn't take too much to build up. You can definitely see it, it's there. All right, I'm now on the same brush going in with, I think that's called Pastel. It's that dark wine color. I'm putting that in on the outer part, and then I'm dabbing this shimmery shade in the middle. So that's what I'm doing. This is another one that picks up really well, but it is a little bit powdery. You can see there's a bit of fallout happening with this one. And this one doesn't apply as dark on the eye as I sort of expected. It's a lot more muted. Luckily, the fallout blends away very easily. Oh, I got some on my nose. I've just put a little bit of that same shade on my fluffy brush that I was using before. I've tapped it off. I just want to use it to blend it because I feel like putting it on with a flat brush or a firm brush has made it sort of look a little bit messy. So it does add a bit of depth. It's just not as dark as the pan implies. And even though the color is pretty, I sort of would have expected this from maybe, oh, don't poke yourself in the eye with a brush. I probably would have expected this from a lighter shade. I just wanted this to be the dark, sort of smoky shade in the palette, but it's not. In saying that, I do think with a fluffy brush, it applied a lot better. There wasn't fallout. I did tap my brush off a little bit with this. And I feel like what's in the crease actually is the same color as what's packed on the lid. So I would probably recommend that this is only a crease color, or a color that you can sort of diffuse into the crease to just a small amount, just to sort of buff it in. I feel like that works better than packing it on. I just think it looks a lot nicer and performs a lot nicer in the crease than it does just packed onto the outer corner. So that is interesting. Okay, so we're going in with that shimmery bronze shade, and I've just picked that up with a brush. I do know that Suva Beauty shimmers can be a little bit, they can feel a little bit wet. So if you come across some eyeshadows that feel like they feel a little bit waxy, or they've got a little bit of dimethicone in it and it feels like it really grips the brush, but can be hard to sometimes translate on the eye without a finger. That's what I've tried. That's what some Suva Beauty eyeshadows are like. And I feel like this is no different to their other ones. So on a brush it picks up well, but it doesn't then transfer from the brush to the eye. So this is an instance where it is better to go in with your finger and just tap it on for a more intense look, or to apply it with a damp brush. Another way you could use this is to dab a little bit of glitter glue on your eye and then put that on. I think that would work really well, but just with a brush, I feel like it sticks to the brush and then doesn't want to transfer very well onto the eyelid. There is also a bit of fallout, but the color is really pretty, and it just adds a bit of sparkle or shimmer to this look. And I think the colors complement really well. So I think, you know, there are definitely pros and cons, but with this sort of, I'm familiar with Suva Beauty's formula, and I just feel like there's a bit of a learning curve with it, and you just have to figure out the best way to make it work. Once again, that just flicks off really easily as well. So the fallout is not a huge deal when it comes to this particular formula. All right, because I really love that bronze color, even though I did use my finger, I'm going to use a firmer brush, like a pencil brush. I'm going to use the red. I want to test the red on the outer corner, and I want to go back in with this bronzy shade and put it on like this middle half. I might then go in with a highlight shade, maybe this one, and put it in the inner corner and see how it works. But that's what I might leave this look at. So I'm starting with the matte red, which is called Floral. I'm going to tap a little bit off just to prevent much fallout, and I'm going to run that in the outer corner, like I said, so under there. All right, I think this one applies better than the berry color, that wine color. I think this color is pretty. It reminds me of a red that was in their, oh, it was like their spice palette or something. It reminds me of the red there. It's a very sort of pink toned red. On camera, I think this looks a lot more vibrant than it does in person. In person, it definitely looks like a raspberry red. It's definitely got blue tones, cooler tones to it. So it's a little bit more pinky than it is orangey, but that applies really well with this particular brush, which is Sigma Domed Utility. But I feel like this one is more punchy in pigmentation than the wine color in the crease and on the outer corner. So I like this one so far a lot better. Is it like a fire engine red? No, but I don't think it's designed to be. It looks like it's, once again, a very sort of berry red. Once again, that was really easy to apply. It's not the most bold. It almost looks quite diffused, but it's very easy to blend and it's quite easy to build up. It doesn't take much to get the vibrancy, which is really good. I feel like if you did apply this very lightly, you'd get a similar color to that wine color in the crease, maybe a little bit brighter. So a lot of these colors they work well together, but they can also look a little bit similar. So it's an interesting one. It's like a monochrome sort of palette. All right, I'm nearly out of brushes because I need to all be washed, but this is like a little synthetic pencil brush by a brand that I don't know much about. So I'm going to try to put that chiffon color, that sort of coppery shimmer shade. It does apply a bit better with a firmer brush, but it does take a bit of work to get it on. But you can see that once you do get it on, it is very, very effective. It's orange, but it works really well with the pinks and it just makes an eye look really pop. So it is a more difficult formula, like not difficult, but it's not really super easy. You have to play with it a little bit, but it's sort of worth the hassle because the effect is really, really pretty. And just to end this look, I'm gonna grab Harlequin, which is this like soft peachy color. I just wiped my brush a little bit, so we're just gonna put this right in the inner corner just for a little bit more brightness. And this does give it quite a cool toned pink look. It's actually very, very pretty. But this shade, similar to the orangey sort of copper shade, it does take a bit to build it up. You have to sort of very carefully sort of work the brush in the pan to pick up enough for it to transfer well. You can definitely get there, as you can see here, but you just have to be a bit careful because otherwise if you sort of agitate the pan too much, unlike the mattes where it picks up a lot, like it kicks up a lot of product, this can actually sort of dig little gouges into the pan. It's one of those sort of formulas, so you got to be careful. All right, I'm going to finish this eye look and come back and show you it with liner and mascara, and then I'll let you know what I think of this look on first impressions. All right, so that is with eyeliner and mascara, and that has instantly like transformed the look just to look a lot more put together. I have Marc Jacobs. This is the Fine Liner Ultra Skinny Gel Eye Crayon, the Spice one that's just on my waterline. I've got, I wanted to do a brown wing because I didn't want it to be too harsh against all the color going on. So I've got Benefit Roller Liner in brown, and then I've just got my mini sort of Caution mascara from Hourglass. So that's just what I've put on my eyes today. And I just wanted to mention that close up, I really like this look. I think what's important about it, some shades I think perform better than others, but I really like the effect of it. I think it's a lot more striking than I thought this palette could maybe create. I know that sounds skeptical of me, but I just feel like it looks really, really sort of fun and vibrant and multi-dimensional, and there's cool stuff going on. I like the little peak of sort of matte here, and then you've got the shimmer and you've got the other color shimmer. I also think that the good thing about the colors, even though a lot of them are quite similar, like they have a very pink tone to them, they don't muddy together much. So you can still see the distinct colors that I've created. They don't all just blur together to like a muddy sort of pink color. You can get distinction in color, which is good. All right, so now that we've zoomed out, you can see the full look. I think it's a really pretty look. Just like I said before, I'm actually surprised that I can get such a vibrant look using this palette. On the face of it, it looks quite nude and quite muted, but when you do use these shimmers, that adds a different dimension. It adds a pop. So even though on first impressions, I think the shimmers are a little bit waxy and you have to sort of dig into the pan carefully, like you need to go, like probably the best way to do it is to get a firm brush, to get a firm brush and you just sort of like wipe over the spot a few times. Don't agitate it because you can dig in holes. If you do dig in holes, you can just sort of repress it in. So you can definitely do that, but it's best to sort of go back just gently to build it up in your brush to get it on your eye, or once again, you can use it wet or use your fingers. But the shimmers don't just pick up really loosely. There are other shimmers like Anastasia Beverly Hills, for example. You put your brush in, it coats the brush and then it glides on your eye. These are more grippy formula when they come to the shimmer. So they don't really do that, but they're just a different formula. And some people prefer this way, some people prefer the other way. It just is about learning how to best use it. But once you do get them on your eye, like this is a beautiful color, adds cool toned pink beautifulness. This is the multi-dimensional sort of bronze, orange, pink. It's really, really pretty. The mattes are very soft. They're completely different to the shimmers. They pick up very, very softly on the brush. There's a bit of kickback. You got to be careful, tap off your brush so don't get fallout. If you do get fallout, you can just brush it away really easily. But some of the shades, once again, once you diffuse them out, they can look quite similar on the eye. And other ones like this wine just doesn't translate very dark on the eye. You can see it's in the outer corner. It looks like it almost looks like it should be this color. Like I sort of expect this pigmentation with this color. This one just doesn't have a lot of depth to it. I think the red has a lot more depth. The peach holds its color a lot better. This one's just a little bit, it's probably better just to deepen the crease or add it with a fluffy brush just to, slightly carve out the crease a little bit. I don't think this is the color that's designed for packing on the lid, if that makes sense. So from what I've tried, that's probably the most disappointing shade, but I will continue to try more. I'm really excited to use like an all purple look. That's something that I sort of want to do because the purples are really pretty. But even though there is that learning curve with the formula, it's not a hard learning curve. It's like you use it once or twice and then you go, oh, this is the best way to use it. And you continue to use it from then on like that. It's just one of those formulas that requires a certain technique to get the best possible outcome. But I really like the effect of this. I would totally reach for this palette again to create a similar eye look because I think it's really pretty. Okay, that's a bit of a bold look. But this is day 2 of using the Rose Period palette, and today I wanted to try out the purples. Now, I do like purple eyeshadow, but I find that sometimes, depending on the tone of the purple, I can use them in everyday looks. Other times I feel like I can't so much. And this is definitely more of a pinky purple look. So what I used today was I used this shade just to sort of set the crease a little bit. I put that in the crease a little bit more. I'll zoom in a second so you can see. I put that one in the crease as well just to deepen it. Then I put this all over the lid. I ended up putting it on with a brush. It did have the same issue as the copper shade where you have to sort of pick up quite a lot, put it on, go back, pick up more, and it's sort of a gradual process. It is so much easier to put it on with your finger, wipe it on, and then just go back with a brush just to fill in and blend it out a little bit. So if you want to get the most amount of pigmentation in the quickest time, fingers are probably best, but it is a very pretty color, so that's all over the lid. On the lower lash line, I did put some purple, and then I also used, not that shade, this shade. So the slightly sort of less pinky highlight shade. So this one does look a lot more pink on the eye. This one just looks a lot more cool toned. And then to sort of just balance it out a little bit, I used some of this shade here, just in the crease in the outer corner. Once again, this applied in a very similar way as it did yesterday. I used a fluffy brush and I feel like that's the best way to apply it. It almost got the same color payoff than when you try to pack it on. So I just put that in the crease a little bit and I went down on the lower lash line with this shade, this red shade that I used yesterday as well. So I used quite a lot of shades. I went that one, that one, that one, that one, that one, that one, that one. So almost all the shades. But I do like the look that it created. It's very, very purple. I'll zoom in. So hopefully you can see how pinky purple this is. So you can see the shimmer on the lid. You can see the highlight, which was just more of your typical cool toned highlighter. The one yesterday was definitely a lot more pinky shifting. Then hopefully you can see I've got a bit of that red there, and I've just got a mix of the purples to sort of blend it all out. So it's predominantly the shimmery purple blended with the other purples, bit of red, bit of highlighter, and off we go. I did put a sort of dark teal colored eyeliner. I thought that it would, I don't know, I thought it would go well. I was going to put like a brown or a purple, but I thought that was going to be sort of like too much. I sort of wanted to balance it out a little bit with another color. I actually used the Anastasia Beverly Hills. This is a liquid lipstick in the shade Requiem. So that's what I used as a liquid liner. I just took the wand out and got a sort of angle liner brush and just took off the product from the wand. And I also thought I'd just pair that with another Anastasia lip product. This is Persimmon. So yeah, that's what I'm doing. So from this look, I think it's a really effective look. On camera, it looks really, really striking. It's a pretty look. If you like pinky purples, you can get some vibrant looks out of this palette. I'm once again surprised at how sort of vibrant this look is. Yesterday, my look was quite pink and orange and was quite vibrant. Today, it is very pinky purple, quite vibrant. These aren't my favorite types of purples. I don't reach for these over more like taupe purples. Those, I think, like plummy purples, I reach for more. So I can't see myself reaching for this palette just to create purple looks. So if you're a purple fanatic, you can get looks out of this, and it does create a really sort of, this is like a purpley rose color. You can get these sort of colors in roses, so I think this makes a lot of sense. So even though I do like this look and it was fairly easy to create with this palette, there's part of me that's just like, okay, would I recreate this? I probably wouldn't do it on a daily basis. It's not sort of the color story that I often feel like flatters me, but I would definitely reach for this type of purple on the lower lash line, pairing it with like this copper shade or a bronze or a gold. I think it makes a really beautiful pop of color. So if you've got brown eyes, these sort of pinky purples, even though you might not be comfortable wearing them all over the lid, they're often really, really great just as a pop of color on the lower lash line. But I do think that these shades all once again worked well together to create a very, very cohesive look. Even popping some of that red on the lower lash line just added a little bit more dimension to the look, but really flattered the purple. I found that with the Anastasia Beverly Hills Norvina palette, I found the matte purple in that and the shimmery purple didn't work well together, whereas these all work well together, which is great. I think the mattes applied once again better than the shimmers. This one, like I said, I had to end up going in with my finger to apply it a little bit more boldly. Otherwise, you do have to spend a bit of time building it up. This sort of cool toned just shimmer, it's just like a silvery shimmer, that worked well in the inner corner. But once again, if you just pick up a little bit, takes a bit to build up, but then if you pick up a lot, all of a sudden you can put on a lot and go, oh wow, that was unexpected. So they're a little bit harder to control how much you pick up, and you might think you pick up a lot and then you go to put on your eye and it just doesn't transfer. So the shimmers aren't my favorite formula. They definitely look pretty, same as yesterday, and this shimmer works really well with the purples just to sort of brighten the purples. So I think they work, I think that's a benefit of this palette, that the colors all work well together to create very flattering looks. But it takes a little bit of work to get there with the shimmers. All right, I'm back for day 3 using the Rose Period palette, and I have to say I'm loving this look I created. It was accidental, maybe. I wanted to use the more sort of lighter colors, and then, like I said, go in with a bronze and a purple maybe tomorrow, and I thought, okay, I'll go peachy, I'll go light pink. I didn't expect it to be this bright and this pretty. So what I did was I used this sort of peachy light color just in the crease. I then used Sweet Briar, which is the matte peach. I just blended it in the crease with the same blending brush. And then I took that blending brush in the outer corner, and surprisingly, the blending brush applied the matte quite boldly. I was very surprised. I feel like the mattes actually perform better with either a stiff pencil brush, like so you can just blend it into buff it into an area, or with a big sort of sweeping motion. I find, especially when I tried to use this packed on, it didn't look very good. And surprisingly, when I used it the next day with a blending brush, it looked as good as it did when I packed it on. So that's a much easier way to sort of apply these products, the mattes to your eye, and the peach just applied beautifully. I'll zoom in a sec, but you can see that it has actually deposited a nice amount of product with a blending brush. I was very surprised. So I did that. Then I went in with that pink shimmery shade. So this is Harlequin. So that's the one that I used in my first look on the inner corner. I went in with that with sort of like a synthetic multi-purpose brush. It's not super flat, but it's also not a fluffy brush. It picked up the product quite nicely. I put it on the inner corner and on the lower lash line. And then I just put a little bit of liner on, mascara, and I was done. It was very, very, very simple. So 3 shades, this one, and that one. And surprisingly, it's created this really beautiful, bright, sort of rosy, corally pink look. I expected it to be a lot more dull and a lot more nude, but it actually looks really, really beautiful. So I'll zoom in. So here we have the look. You can see the coral matte very, very easily. I also put some on the lower lash line. And you can see that beautiful bright pink on the inner part of the eye. And this was really simple to create. There was no issue. It's 3 colors, and one of them was just like a diffusing sort of crease color. It's mainly 2 colors. And even though I thought these colors were very muted and boring, it's actually a really, really pretty, vibrant, pinky coral look. All right, we're back for the last day of using the Rose Period palette from Suva, and the look that I did today, I said I was going to do the bronze with the purple on the lower lash line, and that's exactly what I did. I didn't put any winged line or anything with it because I'm just about to go see a movie with some friends. It's a public holiday today, and I almost forgot I was going to film this, so I quickly rushed it. And then usually I don't wear like really bold makeup catching up with friends, so I thought the color was bold enough, so I didn't want to put any like line or anything with it. But one thing I did realize when I was using chiffon is in the pan compared to the other shades, it looks like the most brown one there. But when you actually do apply it to the eye, it can look really almost like rose gold. So it really makes sense being in this palette because it creates this sort of like rose goldy, metallic kind of look on the eye. So I wouldn't say this is a bronze. I would say if anything it's more like a pinky copper, and it's a very pretty shade. So I took that all over the lid. I blended it out with the peach shade. I put that shade on the lower lash line, and I blended these 2 together on the outer corner just to put a little bit of depth, some purple depth. And then I took this one and some of the peach mixed together just to put in the outer corner on the top. So that's what I've used. One thing I have realized is that even though I don't love this color on its own because it's a little bit light compared to what it looks like in the pan, with a fluffy brush in the crease, it's a nice color, and mixing it with other colors just to deepen those colors a tad, it works really well. So there is sort of a purpose for it in the palette. I just wish it was a little bit darker on its own. So I find this look just a pretty sort of metallic shimmery look, a bit of color. One thing that I have noticed from using this palette over the last 4 days is when I sort of look at this, I'm like, oh yeah, it's kind of like a nude palette with some pinks and purples. No, it's not. It's actually a colorful palette. Even when I tried to, yesterday when I tried to wear the sort of nude colors, it turned very, very pink and quite vibrant. So I would actually call this a colorful palette, but a very wearable colorful palette. And I think my conclusion of this, the formula isn't my all-time favorite formula. There's a bit of a learning curve with it. So the metallics, you have to use the right brush with it to pick it up and deposit it well on the eye. The mattes, I think, apply really nicely on their own, but some of them, like this one, is more designed for like crease work and applying with a fluffy brush in a more sort of diffused way. It's not great for packing on the lid. So I think there are some sort of, you have to play with it a little bit to figure out the best way to make these work. But if you can do that, the looks are really, really pretty and all shades work well together. I could almost like just you know, do a roulette with this and just pick 3 shades just randomly, and I'm sure you could create a really pretty look. So I really like that about this palette. Every look that I created was really vibrant, really fun, but really pretty and really wearable. So I really like the colors in this palette. I think it's a really, really beautiful palette. So yeah, that's sort of my conclusion. Not my favorite formula, and if you've got it, you can create some gorgeous looks. It just takes a little bit to wrap your head around the best way to apply it. But once you figure that out, the looks are really, really pretty. So I'm going to zoom in really quickly just to show you the look that I've got on today, and then we're going to wrap it up there. So hopefully you can see close up that sort of metallic copper shade, which has a really rosy tone to it. So every shade in this palette, you can see that it's inspired by flowers and roses, because this is like a beautiful rose gold. You can see that I blended it out with that sort of coral shade, which looks very peachy when you've diffused it. I used that purple shimmer just along there, a bit of that matte purple mixed with a dark sort of wine purple on the lower lash line, put a bit of mascara on, a bit of purple liner on my waterline, and it's just a really simple, sort of fun, beautiful, colorful look. So when it comes to if I would recommend this palette or not to people, I think it's one of those things that if you really like the colors in it, then it's worthwhile checking out. Or if Suva Beauty is one of those brands that's been on your list of that you wanted to check them out, or you wanted to order some stuff from them, like their hydroliners, and thought, oh, I'm going to chuck this in with my order, I think it's definitely worthwhile checking out, but I don't think it's a must-have. I think they're really pretty. I think a lot of these shades are pretty dupeable, but I definitely think the best part of this palette is the fact that the colors are very, very wearable, but also really pretty and fun. And you can literally just, like I said, just pick at random a few shades and they will work well together. There's no clashing colors here. And I think that's really, really smart of them. So there we go. That's my thoughts on the Rose Period palette by Suva Beauty. All right, I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.